All right. Well, welcome everybody to Logicbroker and Trellis's joint webinar on the Margin Balancing Act, how to grow your online without killing your profits. Feels like that profit tightrope has gotten smaller every year, right?
Oh,
So that's why we put this. That's why I put this webinar on to help you navigate these changing dynamics when market dynamics when it comes to your margins. Just to give you a heads up, everybody has been placed on mute. Feel free to ask questions in our chat. We'll address those live at the end. And if we don't happen to get to your question, we'll apologize, but we'll follow up with you a little bit later. Before we get too far in today's webinar, I want to know, and Ali wants to know, what challenges are your businesses facing when it comes to margins? Go ahead and put those in the chat. We'll try to address those as we go along the way. But I'm Steve Norris, Vice President of Digital Commerce here at Logicbroker. I own our customer success and solutions engineering team. I've spent the last 20 plus years really focused on e-commerce and supply chain technologies, working with enterprise retailers and brands. I'm excited to welcome Ali Babul to our webinar today. Ali works at Trellis. They're a trusted logic broker partner that helps brands scale their online marketplace sales by having tools that automate more efficient advertising and more dynamic price setting. Ali, would you introduce yourself?
yeah, absolutely. How's it going, everyone? Ali, Chief Growth Officer here at Trellis. Have the benefit of working with hundreds of brands and agencies around the space in the e-commerce world, and really help solve that go-to-market function for them as well. And so it's what is demand? How do we drive demand on these marketplaces, but do so in a profitable way? And to Steve's point, the pain right now is larger than ever, right? We're getting squeezed across the board. And so solutions like ours, partnerships like us and Logicbroker as well are really here to help solve for that. And that's a big part of what we're going to be talking about today too. I get out of bed for profit, and I think all of us should get out of bed for the same. And how do we enable that? How do we drive that? And how do we make sure we're driving efficacy and success without killing our bottom line?
I think we got a real good news, bad news problem when it comes to e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
Ali, like the good news is that like global e-commerce and US domestic e-commerce are continuing to grow. And many of the people that joined this webinar are excited about that, right? They're looking at new ways to participate in this growth, right? That might be through, Ali, to your point, selling on marketplaces maybe for the first time. That might be implementing a social selling strategy for maybe more forward thinking organizations. Maybe they're thinking about how agentic commerce impacts their
Yeah.
organization, or maybe they're taking an existing dropship program and thinking about growing it. These are all things that we really recommend that people can do in order to be able to participate in this broader growth of e-commerce. But like the bad news, right, is that like the cost of doing any of this just continues to go up, it feels like, right? Like the
Yeah.
cost to carry inventory, the cost to ship, the cost to serve the customer, the cost of advertising, it all keeps, it feels like going up, and sometimes not at maybe at a faster trajectory than even the growth of e-commerce is happening. Ali, I know this is really near and dear to your heart, but what are like some of the top things that you're seeing being like margin killers in this new e-commerce era?
I think there's so many variables here, right? Like it's to your point, there's so many elements that come into our bottom line, but also elements that things that we can control and things we can't control. And to your point there, it's growing more than ever, right? The industries are growing, the retail landscape is growing, e-com is growing, and there's also means that more and more brands and sellers are entering the space, and it's only going up. Right. And so now there's higher competition. We're competing for the buyers aren't changing in that much regard, and the buyers are the same. And so we're competing for the same set of eyeballs for the same customer and trying to get them to buy our product, compelling with a bunch of margin killing kind of macroeconomic trends that are playing out in the space right now as well. And so a big part of that is if your things that we can control though are well within our operations, our workflows and how we support them, our inventory controls, how we bring them in and how we drive that, minimizing our chargebacks and returns, how we drive our ad spend. But fundamentally, all of these come back to addressing all the things that are within our wheelhouse, because we can't control everything else. We can control these things. And so when we aren't doing these things effectively, and a lot of us aren't, and when margins are getting squished from a macroeconomic scenario that we're in as well, then we have to start doing these things efficiently. We have to start focusing a bit more on our operations, focusing a bit more on our workflows, focusing a bit more on how we stock inventory, when we stock inventory, and running profitable approaches towards all that as well. And so, and how we market and how we price. And so all these things are coming into play. And I know for a lot of people here, if you're selling or in any different way, or a brand in any different way, it's once tariffs hit, what does that mean for our price? How do we control that? How do we navigate that? And I know, Steve, you see a lot of this in the conversations you have as well. There's so much more.
Ali, I think we lost you for a little bit. I'm sure he'll be right back. But I think what the heart of what Ali was focused on was really controlling the controllable, right? And operational excellence, right? There's a lot of things happening from a macroeconomic standpoint that none of us are going to be able to control, right? So what are those things that we can control? One of those things that we can control is things like returns, right? There's organizations I can tell you out there today that are getting absolutely crushed by returns. So how do you make it easier, more efficient, and actually reduce the number of returns that happen as a part of your overall e-commerce sales process, right? It's NRF reported in 2024 that roughly 17% of goods that are bought online are returned. And I can tell you just from anecdotal conversations that we've had with a wide variety of retailers, in some cases, those are exceeding 30% in areas like apparel. We're still seeing that there's quite a bit of operational efficiency that can be gained around eliminating some of those manual processes. It's hard to believe that we sit here in 2025 and with all the tools that we have available with AI and with the emergence of agents, right, that large companies are still doing so much manually. Like if you want to, and you could probably even ask this question inside of your business today and start to see smoke coming off a keyboard, right? Like if somebody comes to your organization and says, hey, based on my address, when can you expect to have a product delivered to me that's currently back ordered? You're probably sending a few emails. There's probably a few spreadsheet exchanges before you can even answer those questions. And oftentimes that's because most organizations have decent inventory visibility when it comes to the things that are inside their stores or distribution centers, but don't have that outside and downstream of their current supply chain where their suppliers are at. So they're flying blind when it comes to things like supplier inventory availability that is maybe just as important, if not more important, to their overall business. Ali, I saw that you rejoined. Was curious as we kind of transition into areas where efficiencies can be gained out by using technology. What are some of those key areas that you're seeing on your side? I think as we think about from a Logicbroker perspective, what are those kind of key capabilities where we're seeing retailers and brands really unlock additional points of margin growth? One of those areas is around dynamic order routing. And think about this not just in the inventory you own, but the inventory that your suppliers have as well. There's very real scenarios that exist inside your business today where a dropship supplier or a marketplace seller could be much closer to your customer logistically than your distribution centers and your stores. If you're a regional department store chain, for instance, and you're trying to service a customer that's on and you're in the Northeast and you're trying to service a customer that's in Southern California, right? There's a very real scenario that your supplier may be able to reach that customer before you do, even if you have that inventory. So there's a lot of ways that you can think around dynamic order routing and how to make the best decision as to how that's going to get fulfilled, whether that's from a store, a distribution center, or somewhere else in your supply chain network. The other thing that we're seeing be adopted very quickly by a lot of retailers and brands is this idea of automating a large portion of the vendor onboarding process. There's still a lot of time and complexity and manual work that exists inside that onboarding process for new suppliers, right? The key here is being able to use technology that allows you to be able to lean on the technology to do more of the work and less on spreadsheets and emails in order to be able to accomplish those tasks. One of the things that we also see that is really important is getting that real-time inventory visibility, like we mentioned, but using that inventory visibility using an expanded set of assortment to think about how do you increase the lifetime value of your customers, right? You'll see multiple studies out there that if you do a little bit of homework that'll talk about how it's so much easier to sell to your existing customers than it is to find a new customer, right? If you look at the rising cost of advertising, if you look at the rising cost of customer acquisition, you're seeing that across your businesses play out today. What is it that your business can leverage technology to do to more quickly find assortment that your customers crave to keep them coming back? We see this happen a lot of times, especially in the furniture category, where somebody might buy a couch once every 8 years, once every 12 years. They're using this expanded assortment and this automated vendor onboarding to bring products to their customers to keep them fulfilled and satiated and interested as they continue to need new things for their home that may not be that giant couch that they just purchased a couple years ago. So how can you use technology and take the information that you've learned today and put that into more of a playbook infrastructure, right? So one of the things that is of immediate importance is to think about this as you go back to your business after this webinar and think about where you can start. It's about laying a foundation to reclaim your profitability. And what does that foundation look like, right? What are some of the easy wins that you could get out of it today? What are some of the harder things that you're going to have to find people to partner with that are inside your organization? I think first thing that you want to think about is that if you already have a drop ship or wholesale or marketplace fulfillment program in place that's fully automated, think about how you streamline that. Think about how you take that dropship program and make it not just about selling products that you don't sell inside the store or fulfill out of a distribution center, but think about it as a other node in your existing supply chain to be able to use from a fulfillment perspective to make sure that you're reclaiming points of margin in that process and you're not shipping a couch from Pennsylvania all the way to LA when the furniture manufacturer actually distributes directly out of LA to begin with. I think secondarily where you can focus is improving inventory visibility across your supply chain and your downstream supply chain into your suppliers. Now, this is going to take a little bit of work. You should work with your internal technology teams and IT teams to figure out how you'll make this work for your business. If you think about the technology that you can go out and is available on the market today, there are solutions that allow you to be able to easily capture inventory from your suppliers. Logicbroker is definitely one of those. But you'll want to make sure that you have good IT partners that can help get that inventory availability from real time into your forecast and demand planning tools, into your order management systems, into your ERP system, right? So that you put in that platform that allows you to be able to scale profitably. The third
Steve,
thing,
actually,
yep.
I was going to click into that one. I think that's probably one of the most important ones, right? Like the availability of the inventory you have. People need to know you have it.
Yeah.
And so the larger the delay there, like that's, and someone's in the market for it at that time, you're losing out on sales from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think about. Like, you can look at some of the largest brands in the US and you could pinpoint inventory if you walked into their distribution center or into a store or in their downstream supply chain that they do not have available for sale for many of a myriad of different reasons, right? I think the other thing that we see too that's kind of happening and where people can reclaim that profitability is more around like proactive monitoring and alerting.
Yeah.
How do I know? There are so many tools today that can help with predictive analytics that we really should never be in a position, right, short of a supply chain catastrophe, right, that we don't have the products that our customers want. So it's important to understand not just is the data accurate, but like let's understand a bit more about how we could be more proactive as retailers and brands in addressing some of these situations early on before they become an absolute problem to the business.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of it, right? Like if the proactivity element towards this, it's if you're able to get ahead of it, it doesn't cost you anything, right? The moment you're being reactive, you're already taking the hit on the cost, you're already taking the hit on your profits. You're already taking the hit on a numerous amount of things and you're putting out fires more than not. But take that one step to say, how do I know how much inventory not only do I need, but then showing the systems that you have the inventory, even if it's a lead time of 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's okay, you know what? It's coming in 3 weeks. And so you're not just saying what I have today and what's arrived on the dock today or what's arrived in my inventory or my warehouse today. It's what's coming in 3 weeks, and you can start making sure that you're ahead of it going into all of the retailers and marketplaces or wherever you're spending or wherever you're getting your customers from.
And I think a lot of the organizations on this call probably have pretty strong data and analytics teams, right? And they can help with that proactive monitoring. They can also help in some of the reporting that is needed in order to be able to make sure you are retaining your margins, right? Like there is this delicate balance of systems, right? And any enterprise retailer beyond on this call is like, the last thing I need is another system to go and look for things, right? This is really about how do I take that information and get it blended together so I can continuously monitor the profitability. And I know, like from a Trellis perspective, you guys have been doing some of that work across a wide variety of marketplaces. So maybe you could tell us, Ali, a little bit more about, now that we've put that platform in that allows for that foundation of profitability, how do we make sure that that profitability continues as we scale our business?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of it when you look at the demand side of it, and taking that next step is to get that efficiency, to get that profitable scale. We have to, price is a big component of that, right? That as my cogs change or as the demand changes in market, how do we make sure that my price is reflecting across all of my marketplaces, let alone also the ones that are driving your sales? And so dynamically adjusting your price is a strategy in a way that a lot of brands and retailers are going to adjust based on that demand. And so let's talk about, we're talking about inventory levels. What's one way to decrease your demand? And this is basic economics. When supply is limited, it's change your price, right? That if I can get a more profitable sale as a result of that, I'm willing to accept that price point, and I'm also allowing me to wait for my inventory to actually come in to bring that down as well. And so there's different ways to adjust it and different ways to think about it, but you want to maximize your profit without losing any semblance of competitiveness, and leveraging pricing as one of those big vehicles as well. And so as cogs change, as your to Steve, what you were saying there as well, is having a real-time look on what those margins are. You want to be able to adjust and think about what your pricing should be and where it should be as well as a result of any of these pressures too. And then couple that with going into market and leveraging automation and understanding that there is bidding and software and technology and Trellis being one of them, or let alone looking at any other ad tech or marketplace advertising operations to help drive efficient utilization of not only the spend, but how you bid on those ads and how much you spend on them and where you're spending them. Because ultimately, we all want to acquire a new customer, but do it at a cost-effective clip, right? And you can be involved with it on a manual basis and run your spreadsheets and do all of that. But there is an element of where a system will allow you to automate where and how you should play to contain your margins, but also constrain your budgets around there to maintain your ROAS goals as well. And so that's between the advertising and the price, those are two variables that you want to keep hand in hand. And then look at the overall journey that a customer takes. What are the different touch points they're looking at from a digital standpoint? Are they seeing a display ad and then they're coming into your store and are seeing a Google ad? What is the journey that they're taking, whether it be on and looking at a marketplace specifically, that they're taking to get to not only find your product, but to buy your product and then to buy it again? Right? Because ultimately we want to increase the number of people that buy from us, get them to buy again, and increase the overall their average order value. And so the only way we can do that is to know not only what they buy first, but what they buy after that first product as well. And you have to start looking at the overall journey and optimizing and driving the efficiency at various different stages those customers take, and help leveraging your advertising to push them and nudge them along that journey to drive that value for you. Discounting can become a real pain to capture that customer. But if you don't really know what your acquisition cost is, then how can you determine what your discount should be? Why do we discount, whether it be from an inventory standpoint or acquiring customers or any of those pieces? Understanding your customer journey becomes really, really valuable to help you strategize and drive where that efficiency can happen, but also how to scale in a manner that makes it comfortable for you, your P&Ls and your margins as well. And then going a little bit beyond there as well, right? Looking at audiences and looking at DSP and programmatic to really kind of help follow that shopper around for you, to remind them that when they're on different sites or about to shop a competitor or anything like that, that your brand was the one that they were excited about, that their product was the one that they were excited about. And so you don't want to lose that customer because they decided to browse somewhere else. Leverage your DSP, leverage the audiences around that, and retarget and remarket towards them to really drive that efficiency and make sure that the sale happens for you. And that they become a customer of yours, not someone else's.
Yeah, this is really, Ali, I love how you explained that, because it really sounds like to me that like profitability and squeezing out new points of margin is really a data game, right?
100%.
And if you think about all of these things that we talked about today, it all really revolves around you owning your data and being able to own your future with the data that you have, right? I think you had a really astute comment early on. There's a lot of things that we can't control. So we got to control the controllable. But there's also this aspect of it's almost more easy to enter markets today than it's ever been before, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you're like, it's pretty easy for somebody like you or I, not saying we should do this or that this is a great business idea, to sell t-shirts on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about Patagonia and Viore and all these other folks that might be doing the same thing, what do they have that you and I don't? A ton of data, right?
Data.
So
yeah.
how do
and
they
a brand,
put,
but
and a brand, and probably anything better than we were capable of even dreaming up in our minds of being able to manufacture. But that data is just so important to be able to make these smart decisions. And I think that's why we get excited on the Logicbroker side about this partnership with Trellis, because Logicbroker has done for the last 15 years a really great job of connecting retailers and brands across an intelligent commerce network in a way that allows them to be able to increase online revenue and reach new customers. But it's more than just being connected and being able to process orders and getting products listed and getting like just the basic price. There's a lot more components to, okay, now I'm on Amazon, now I'm on Walmart, now I'm on these other channels. How do I optimize, right? And I think that's where Trellis has really done a great job of coming alongside Logicbroker and telling that more holistic story around how to be successful in selling in some of these online marketplaces, both new and emerging.
That's it, right? Like at the end of the day, in the absence of having the right foundation, the absence of being able to understand not only like the inventory or the chargebacks or any of these things, but also when you're going into other marketplaces, with the absence of that foundation, you can't grow anywhere, right? And so when you do go into there, how do I do it in an efficient manner? How do I do it in a manner that allows me to scale, test and scale in a scalable manner as well? Like you're hearing that word a lot from me and from us today, because at the end of the day, entering is just opening the door. Scaling is actually when you start making real dollars through these marketplaces. And so doing so in a manner that will allow you to earn a bit more market share, drive what is your operationalization and also your demand generation strategy towards it, and engaging with your customers at various different stages of the journey is all about what we look at Trellis, and also a big part of what we build upon a lot of the work with Logicbroker as well, of let's make sure that marketplace is a win for you. And make sure that it's the right marketplace for you as well. And so the better together of the Logicbroker and Trellis is absolutely fundamental in terms of the technology and the platforms that we service, but more specifically in terms of the sound business principles that it survives. It's the foundation of what you need and setting it up to allow you to scale, to allow you to win in that marketplace. And that's going to be the biggest part and the biggest thing that you need no matter what.
As we think about moving towards the Q&A section of our time, maybe just a quick recap for everybody on what we've chatted through. Feel free to ask as many questions as you would like. You can put those in the chat. The biggest things that we want to focus on is like growth only matters if you can do it profitably. None of us are running a nonprofit on this call. So it's going to be really important as you have that foundation for growth and continue to investigate these new ways of growing your business and finding new avenues to grow e-commerce revenue, that you do it profitably, right? I think we pointed out some of the key areas where you could maybe get some quick wins around things that may be killing your margins today, and talked a little bit about how Logicbroker and Trellis could be able to help with that, as you continue to scale. And then I think the encouragement that we would have from both of our sides is like, hey, it's going to be important. You're not in this alone, right? Folks like Trellis, folks like Logicbroker, we are trusted partners in this, or that come alongside your organizations and make sure that you have long-term success in using both of our platforms, whether that be together or whether that be kind of agnostic. But we'd love to open this up for more questions to see what you guys have that are top of mind, and we'll go back and we'll take a look and see if we had anybody that dropped any kind of top items here in the chat. Right. So it looks like we got a question. Ali, I'll let you take this. Right. We're a large brand that just started selling on Amazon. We're seeing a bit of nascent sales, but we're a well-known brand that we would expect to do better on Amazon. Where can I get a quick win?
Well, that quick win, that'd be nuanced. I would actually say the biggest part that I think that brands and often e-com sellers as a whole forget about Amazon, that they are an ads business and an inventory business first, right? And so if you look at whenever you're searching and you as a customer are searching on Amazon, 80% of the purchases happen off the first page, right? And they happen in those first 2 rows. And of those first 2 rows, half of those are ads. So now if half of them are ads and you're saying that, hey, you know what, we have a brand, we've just launched on Amazon, we're a well-known brand, then let's start playing for the branded keywords, making sure that you are at the very least showing up and your ads and your products are showing up effectively for those branded keywords. And that'd be a quick, easy win. People who are familiar with your brand, people who are more loyal to your brand will come that way. And all of those elements, and I'm going to get a little more tactical here, about leveraging like a sponsored product, which is what the placement type would be on Amazon, will help drive your organic rank. And so the more you use a sponsored product, which is an ad vehicle and an ad placement type on Amazon, it will help increase the rank of your product and get you onto those first pages from an organic standpoint to help drive profitability and searchability for you later on as that rank gets into a better position for you too. And so the quick win here is lean into ads for your branded terms to make sure you're capturing all the people that are looking for you and they're not going to your competitors instead.
Yeah, I think that's really sound advice. I think I would echo the same, right? I think we got one other question here that we'll wrap up with. It is, hey, our brand is looking to participate in more social selling channels. What do you think about TikTok? Well, that's kind of a loaded question, huh?
Yeah.
I think to me, social selling is very interesting, but it's only interesting if you are planning to invest in that from a strategic standpoint, right? When you think about how you win on these social platforms like a TikTok or a Meta, you win by finding these influencer partners that you can work with that can best represent your brand. The person that asked this question, I'm not sure where they work. I would look into the demographics that get served, like the primary audience on a channel like TikTok is Gen Z. It could be very lucrative for your business to investigate TikTok if you're looking to expand into kind of Gen Z and open up new audiences. Maybe that's an audience you want to double down on. That's a part of your strategy. But I would think about this as not as simple as just turning on a sales channel as much as it is developing a strategy around social and a strategy around influencers and micro influencers to make sure that you're showing up and putting your best foot forward there and getting the most value that you can out of some of these social selling channels. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I'll add in there. I think TikTok is great from a social selling standpoint. Like your reach and discovery, right? It's one of the only platforms that the algorithm is not based around the followers, it's based around the content. And so as a new brand, you can absolutely get discovered that way. But the only way to get discovered is having the right content. And Steve, to your point, in the absence of having an influencer program or an affiliate, and TikTok's affiliate program will help with a lot of this, or there's other platforms out there that help support, you're not going to be able to get and drive that same approach that you're looking for. So it's not just, hey, I put up a TikTok shop and here's a couple videos. That is you've entered it, but you're not going to get success from it. And so to Steve's point, the strategy of which you're taking is, how do I make sure I capitalize in the right region, whether it be the US or the UK or anywhere else? Couple that with who are the influencers and the affiliates that I can play with that will support my content and drive success towards that strategy. And then what is my approach towards content that will help that will help me be discovered a lot better. And so it's the people, it's the reach, and it's also the content that you're producing. And if you're in there, high production content does not do well on TikTok. But If your demographic, to Steve's point, is not the Gen Z, maybe a little bit of the millennial market there as well, TikTok's not for you.
Ali, as we wrap up, if somebody wants to get a hold of you that is in this meeting, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. It's you can just search Ali Babul. Alternatively, feel free to send me an email. It's Ali at gotrellis.com, GOTRELLIS.com. Always happy to chat all about marketplaces, e-com, how to win on Amazon, how to win better on Amazon and Walmart. Again, those make up a lot of your marketplace sales as a whole. But absolutely, Ali at gotrellis.com, and happy to chat.
Thanks so much for joining, Ali. It's always great to partner with Trellis. Always great to get your insights into what's happening in this marketplace space. Appreciate everybody for joining. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Trellis or Logicbroker teams, and we'll chat soon. Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.